Hello, welcome back to 1874. Thank you to those that have stayed with us and joined us straight after the podcast. Greg and I have just completed that podcast talking transfers and looking back over the Arsenal game. So do go and watch that or listen to it if you haven't done so already. We are here now to preview Villa's seventh game in the Champions League this season. So yeah, looking forward to that. Villa in a really, really good position. This show is sponsored by Luke Roper this time. So if you want to get everything that they have to offer 20% off, then use TVV20 as the code and you will get 20% off. Right then, Greg, it's been a while. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad you remembered the promo code this time. You did well.
I know the Luke one because I've been doing that for years. I just didn't know. I wasn't actually far off with the NordVPN one, was I? In the end, it was 4 months free. I was correct. We're here to talk Champions League. Greg, Monaco v Aston Villa, 5:45 tomorrow. I think I'm actually doing the build-up on TalkSport 2 tomorrow because the game is live on TalkSport 2. So I think I'm doing that, which should be fun if I do get to do it. I've got no idea. I got asked and then I've not heard anything since. So we'll see what happens with that. But Monaco started off the Champions League like an absolute house on fire, beating 10-man Barcelona 2-1. Then drew with Zagreb, and then won 5-1 against some Czech team that I cannot pronounce. Beat Bologna, so they're in a really, really good position. But the last two haven't gone well. They had 10 men and lost to Benfica 3-2. Arsenal then beat them 3-0, but I did watch some of that game and they did actually play quite well in it. I thought they gave Arsenal some fright. Generally, though, form has fell off a cliff a little bit in the league. They're still fourth, but the form guide isn't good. Not one in their last five, Greg. So good opportunity for Villa to go to Monaco and get something. And being honest, if Villa do get 3 points here, it's pretty much there. They've pretty much made the knockouts, I believe, without having to go through the playoffs, which would be, in the first season in the Champions League, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I think, look, first and foremost, an away game at Monaco be great for the fans that are going over, be great for the fans that have got a ticket. I'm sure they're going to enjoy it. I had pals of mine who went to the Lille game last year in the Europa Conference League, really enjoyed it. Other friends that have gone along to some of the away games. and just gone along for the drink and the experience. Really, some of them haven't got tickets and they've just gone and because there's a big group of Villa fans going, and it's a nice opportunity to all be together in a different country. So for those that have gone, hope they all enjoy it. Hope it's safe travels to everyone over there, etc. But for Villa, the key is to get the job done, I think, tomorrow, and then give them the final game against Celtic, which is such an eagerly anticipated game for so many people. Actually, it would be quite important, I think, for Villa to try and have it done and dusted by then, because the opportunity is there now against Monaco. If we'd have said this at the start of the Champions League campaign, I think a lot of people would have thought we were getting ahead of ourselves, saying, let's hope Villa are top 8 by the 7th game. It sounds pretty mad, but they've got themselves into this position. They're coming up against the Monaco team that are not in great form. I do think we can't look at the recent form too much because they've played 7 out of the last 8 games, I think, away from home. Twice against PSG as well. So there'll be a different team at home. But Villa are better than them. They're a better team than them. They can go and do that job. Yes, they can't be complacent, but I think if they play as well as they can, they'll get the job done.
They've got an interesting team. I'm just looking through their lineup against Montpellier at the weekend. They lost 2-1 despite absolutely battering them. If you look at the stats, bit of a ex-Premier League feel to their team. 2 centre-backs were Carrera and Salazar, who obviously played for West Ham and Southampton, respectively. In the number 10 position, it was Minamino at the weekend. I've got to say, I always quite liked him at Liverpool. I always thought he had something about him. So it'd be interesting to see him play against Villa. Obviously, he will know Premier League teams because he will have faced Villa in the past.
Would he?
You weren't Liverpool then, so he will have faced Villa at some point. He was on loan at Southampton at one point as well.
He probably has, but I'm sure he was played against Villa in the Championship. But anyway, we move on.
No,
I might be wrong. I can't remember the dates. But anyway, he's probably played against Villa. I think there's Breland Bolo as well plays for them, who Villa once tried to sign. And
he's one of those players.
Pushed pretty hard for him.
He's been in every international tournament my whole life, it feels. He's just one of those players that
I
you
wonder how
always
old
only
he is
see.
now,
And
Brill
he's
Embolo.
not that old.
He
He's still in his
must be.
20s, I think. I think he's still in his 20s.
He's played so much international football. I've watched him so often. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, what was your question? I forgot.
Well, I was just saying about the kind of the Premier League feel to their team. They've got he's a Balgoon on
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
their books as well. They didn't play at the weekend, so he might be injured. So they've got quite a lot of ex-Premier League players. Was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, and look, they have, and they're doing all right in League One. They're fourth, so
Yeah.
they're well primed to get back into the Champions League next year if they can continue that run. But I just think, look, Villa have got a strong enough team to go in, a strong enough squad to go and beat them, and the opportunity's there. They've got to go and do it. What do you think about these early kickoffs? Are you a fan of them, or what?
I'm glad they're away and not at home. This was a bit tight to try and get to Villa Park for 5:45. Wouldn't you have to leave at 2:00 to get parks and stuff? Wouldn't you? So which would be a bit weird on a weekday. I don't mind it away from home, but
I quite like, if I'm not working, which is very, very rare on a Champions League night, I quite like to sort of watch a game early and then watch a second game.
Yeah, I love that.
That's quite nice.
Yeah, I'll be watching 2 games for sure. I'm staying over in London, so I'll be watching 2 games for absolute certain.
Yeah, I think that's decent. But yeah, I mean, look, as I say, Villa got the opportunity to go there and get the job done. Monaco have they beat Barcelona earlier in the season when they had 10 men at home. But they've picked up most of their points against clubs that they would have been expected to beat anyway. Dinamo Zagreb, Red Star, Bologna. They're not strong opponents, but it leaves them on 10 points. 3 points behind Villa, and if they win, they've got the opportunity to potentially finish in the top 8 themselves, which is, very unlikely. But very surprising because we didn't expect it. But for Villa, the key is if they can go and win, then gives them a bit more freedom going into the final game.
Yeah, look at this, Greg.
Really small.
Just get it up on the screen. Yeah, who's this? Who is this, Gregg Evans?
There's your
for audio listeners. Tell us what you were saying on the screen.
Okay, he played against Villa.
Huh? Yeah, Minamino did play against Villa in the FA Cup game.
Who's that behind him?
I'm presuming that was the FA Cup game in 2021.
Who's the Villa player behind him?
Number 46. No, don't know that. Do you know?
I don't. That was the.
Does anyone know?
That was the. It's not. Oh God.
FA Cup. It's the FA Cup game where we had to play the kids because everyone had COVID.
Someone search on Google for us.
Someone will know that is. But anyway,
when it was COVID. That was COVID, wasn't it? When Villa had all the COVID outbreak and had to play the whole kids, and Louis Barry scored. Yeah.
Yeah, but they were still representing Aston Villa Football Club, so Minamino has played against Villa. This is the point I was making at the start. Great to say. I was just a quick Google image search whilst Gregg was talking. Great to pull that up. So for audio listeners, picture of Minamino on the screen on the YouTube show. So yeah, there we go. The headline news for Villa, it's not even news. I got the headline kind of question for Villa is: will John Duran start this one? He's come back the last couple of games. I've only really seen him fleetingly. Didn't even see him at all against Everton. Been absolutely brilliant in the Champions League. Scored goals. Been Villa's kind of talisman actually in the Champions League. Do you think he'll start over Watkins for this one, despite Watkins being in the goals, and then Watkins comes back at the weekend against West Ham?
I think he will. I think he'll start.
Is this a Gregg Evans thing, or is this a Gregg Evans no? Because we've had this game, we've played this game many times before.
I don't know. Oh, thanks, Dan. But first of all, thanks to Dan in the comments. Jake Walker, yeah, it would have been Jake Walker.
I wouldn't have got that.
No, that was the team that played. I mean, that's one of the stories that actually features in my book. Actually,
are you bringing out a book, Greg? Because the people might just be watching the preview and now I've watched the podcast. Are you bringing out a book, Greg?
It's one of the that night was and the preparation ahead of it was pretty mad because you had sort of parents having to pick the players up after the game and a group going to the stadium in a minibus. It was just literally men versus kids. But yeah, back to Duran and Watkins. I think Duran will start. I think just because he's he'll be itching to start. I think he will.
Okay. David Starr was not happy with the kickoff time. Massive clash with the kids' bedtime. Not a fan. It's difficult.
Wow, you get your kids at 5:40. Oh, okay,
Well, no, it's
5:45
probably
to
no, it's probably
7:45. Yeah,
during the
yeah,
game. I
yeah,
would, I
yeah,
would
yeah,
say.
yeah.
I, would-
I was
I
gonna
would, I would
say,
guess.
blimey, I'm struggling to get mine to bed for 9. So
Yeah, there's not much bedtime routine in my house either. I've got to say, I struggle after Christmas. So Duran starts then in Greg Evans' expert opinion. Any other changes? Bit of rotation here and there, maybe. I suppose there's
I
a
suppose maybe
decent gap
Bogard gets a start, maybe.
alongside Kamara, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was pretty good, wasn't he, on Saturday? Maybe he deserves to get a 90 minutes in that position.
Yeah, McGinn. What's talk McGinn was only a week away, and that he might be available for this one. Obviously, Emery hasn't done his press conference at the time of us recording this now. We're doing it live. I'm trying to think. I reckon he'll move Tillerman's back. But then who would he? And then bring in Bailey or Marlon? Can Marlon play? Do you know that?
No, Marlon can't play. He's not
Marlon
registered.
can't.
He can only be registered after the next round, after
You
the
sure?
round of group stage. Yeah, he can't
Is that
play.
fact? Because I'm seeing so many conflicting messages about whether Marlon can play or not.
He can't play.
Okay, that's interesting. But I suppose Bailey could start and Tillerman's moves back into midfield. Rogers goes back to a 10. Could it be one where he thinks, you know what? And Watkins referenced this after the Arsenal game that he thinks him and Duran can play together. Does he just say for this one, oh, you know what? I'm going to play them both. Let's see what happens.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? I would like to see that because I think they're struggling. I think they struggle to find the two of them together, but I would like to see how it works because look, they've tried it. They've worked on ways to do it, but it just hasn't in games. It hasn't quite worked, has it? I felt like actually Villa have got worse at times when the two of them are on.
Yeah, but yeah, I can't really think of. It feels like we can't do rotation at the moment, but then it also in my head, I'm unsure why I feel like there can't be much rotation for this one.
It's the midfield, isn't it? It depends. We'll have
I suppose we're short
because with Barkley and Anna and McGinn out. Then there's three key midfielders. So we're waiting for updates from Unai Emery to understand whether any of them will be available. So
Buendia.
Yeah,
a bit more impact from the bench recently.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, will be interesting. I think he'll change a couple of things. I think he's probably got to, hasn't he? He's probably got to change a couple of things for this one. Give people minutes and whatnot.
I think he's good to just freshen it up a little bit, but they don't need too many changes.
No,
as I said, go and get the job done and move on. Which
of the two games, this and Celtic, do you think is the more winnable game?
Well, I think they're both winnable first and foremost, and then I mean probably the home game just because I think Villa have struggled a little bit in Europe over the last 18 months away from home. You pull all the away results together and they don't look great collectively. So although I'm not concerned about Villa, and I think they will go and get the job done. If we're looking at the two games in isolation, I think the Celtic game's easier. You
say that about Europe, I completely take your point. In the Conference League, we did struggle away from home, but lost lost Club Brugge because it was just a catastrophe, wasn't it? Mings picking the ball up, but beat Leipzig and beat Young Boys. So actually, away form in the Champions League is pretty good.
I mean,
Leipzig, that's a tough place to go and get a win.
Yeah, but for me, Young Boys is a given, so forget that.
Yeah, of course.
That's a given, really. So it's 1-1. It's 1-1 with Bruges and Leipzig, 1-1 lost one, and then last year, couldn't the early stages of the groups in the group stages, the Villa weren't very good. Squeezed past Lille, drew with Ajax. Lost to Olympiacos, wasn't it?
I can't even remember. Conference League feels so long ago now. It's ridiculous. It was only like last year, but it feels so long ago now.
Yeah. So the away form add them all up, hasn't been.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get a hot/freezing cold take then for this one, Greg. Have you got any thoughts?
You never warn me of these. You just throw me on this, and I don't expect it.
You've done a couple of.
Negative.
Dave does the previews. Dave does the previews nearly every week. And still he forgets that he's got to do one, even though he does them every week.
Hot take. Okay. We will see some remarkable scenes in the away end when Villa
That's not a
scored
hot
tomorrow.
take, is it? That's not a hot take, Greg.
Oh God, hold on, let me have another think. Blimey. Okay, Lamar Bogard plays.
Lamar
Well,
Bogard
Lamar Bogard features in the game and impresses again,
Okay, I'm going to go with
sparking Unai Emery into a late decision of whether to keep him for the second half of the season rather than send him out on loan, despite interest from multiple clubs.
There we go.
How's that?
That's good. That'll do. That's very good. I'm going to go for a substitute to score for Villa.
Lamar Bogard.
Could it be Lamar Bogard? Could it be John Duran? Could it be Ollie Watkins? I'm going to go for a substitute squad. If Watkins doesn't start, I'd like him to come on and score because I'd like him to get that Champions League monkey off his back because he hasn't scored in the Champions League yet. It'd be good to see him get on a score sheet, and he's in a good vein of form, isn't he? The last couple of games, so I'd like to. I think a bench player will score for Villa in this one. That's going to be my take. Right then, Greg and I now 2 shows we've done absolutely burnt out. It's lethal, this schedule around January and Christmas, isn't it, Craig? It's just relentless. So we're going to go. To go back and watch the podcast, listen to the podcast if you haven't done so already, and do, if you've got the financial means, get yourself some clothing from Luke Roper as well with the code TVV20, and you'll get 20% off everything Luke have to offer. If anybody at all is interested in what I'm doing this week, which they're probably not, then I am on Sky tomorrow and Wednesday, and also doing TalkSport 2 tomorrow and TalkSport's YouTube Soccer Saturday show on Wednesday night. So watching the Champions League. So if you fancy watching me or listening to me, then that's how you will do it. Greg, you got anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I'm releasing
the articles. Huh? Yeah, you've done your book. Do go back and listen to Greg.
I'm releasing a book in May alongside Matt Mayer. It's called Waking the Giant: Inside the Rebirth of Aston Villa, and it will go through all the stories from Villa from in the Championship to the Champions League.
Okay, we're getting a bit of abuse in the chat about you answering a question that came in. I'm desperately trying to find it. It's a golf-related question. You'll be surprised to hear. Here we go. So Kari says, gift for Greg, $100 from me if you predict who is the best Englishman to finish at a major in 2025.
Okay, are you going to use this tip to back this player? Okay, £100 for me if you predict the best English finish at a major in 2025. I will say Tommy Fleetwood.
I heard of him. Unbelievable. Actually heard of a golfer.
Tommy Fleetwood. It's about time. It's about time that boy wins a major, actually. But I think he will get very close this year, if not win one.
Okay. I mean, a few people, as it turns out, Greg, do care about what I'm doing on the next few days. Davey Laddie's asking what time. So that's 9 and 12 on Sky Sports News. It's also on YouTube as well tomorrow. And then TalkSport 2 at 3. And then I think, like I said, I'm doing the build up to the Villa game on TalkSport 2 as well. And then Wednesday, 9 and 12 again on Sky Sports News. And then from 6, or no, it might be from 7 o'clock on TalkSport's YouTube channel, watching the Champions League and talking about the games and as the goals as they go in TalkSport's famous studio. So right, let's go, Greg. Thank you ever so much for doing 2 shows back to back with me. Much appreciated. Thanks to those that have stuck with us for the 2 shows back to back as well. Too long of me and Greg. That is over. Is that over an hour now? Nearly over. It must be just over an hour of me and Global. So yeah, people have probably had enough. So thank you very much for the support. It's really, really appreciated. Be back, and I'll have to try and chuck in a video on Wednesday looking back on Villa's Champions League game against Monaco at some point. So do look out for that. Subscribe to the channel with your post notifications on. Leave reviews, do likes, comments, all that stuff. Only one thing left to say: a big fat massive up the Champions League.